How did the NFL let Amon-Ra St Brown slip through their fingers? Drafted in 2021, he has been nothing short of a superstar for the Detroit Lions, taking them from a laughingstock to a powerhouse with serious Super Bowl potential. Yet, somehow 16 wide receivers were picked before him as St. Brown waited through 111 selections to hear his name called. Today, we're going to uncover the stories of those 16 receivers taken before him and how they compare to the Lions' breakout star. First off though, we have to talk about Amon-Ra St Brown for himself and just how phenomenal his time in the league has been. This is all despite several draft analysts marking him down as a later round selection.
He is his hands are strong. Like, he has strong hands. His vertical is great. I love him, but I don't know where he's gonna go get drafted. I'm thinking like a second round pick, third round pick. But I mean, everybody says they love him in the first round. I just don't see him getting drafted in the first round.
And somebody who could not be the focal point of an offense. However, in his rookie season, St. Brown quickly got to work proving the doubters wrong, nearly topping 1,000 yards as a rookie and clearly establishing himself as the team's top pass catcher. And yes, the Lions did only win 3 games that season, but St. Brown's emergence was the first baby steps of their rebuild. The following year was a true breakthrough season, with St. Brown being named a Pro Bowler for the first time thanks to a 1,061-yard season and 6 touchdown effort. In breaking the 1,000-yard barrier, he became the youngest Lion receiver to top 1,000 yards in a season, breaking a record previously held by none other than Calvin Johnson. And look, by 2023, the Lions were an absolute powerhouse. They went 12-5 and were boasting the 5th highest scoring offense in the entire league. The core to this success was no one else but St. Brown. He was named first team All-Pro as one of the league's very best at his position, with a huge 1,515 yards and 10 touchdowns on the year. This continued into the playoffs, with St. Brown averaging 91 yards per game as the Lions went all the way to the NFC Championship game, only to fall 34-31 to the 49ers. Still, St. Brown had established himself as one of the league's very best, and the Lions agreed, rewarding him with a $120 million deal over 4 years for his stellar contributions to the team. So I mean, it's safe to say that honestly, that's not really that bad for the 17th wide receiver taken in this draft. But the question does remain, what happened to the other 16 taken before Amon-Ra St Brown? Well, maybe the only guy who has matched St. Brown's career out of this draft class was the first wide receiver taken, who was LSU's Jamar Chase.
With the 5th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU.
Chase has been a bona fide superstar since he first stepped onto an NFL field, being named All-Pro and Offensive Rookie of the Year in his first season in the league, as his Cincinnati Bengals went all the way to the Super Bowl. And just like St. Brown, Chase has also turned this struggling franchise into immediate contenders. He has 3 1,000+ yard seasons out of 3 and looks almost certain to be up there for another one in 2024. His 36 receiving touchdowns since 2021 is second only to Mike Evans, continuing the sensational college partnership he had with quarterback Joe Burrow. And as good as St. Brown is, most Bengal fans will be more than happy with this selection. The only issue does seem to make sure that he does get paid this year and is tied down in Cincinnati 4 years to come.
With the 6th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jaylen Wadd, wide receiver, Alabama.
Another major hit at pick number 6 was Jaylen Wadd to the Miami Dolphins, who was also reunited with his college quarterback, in this case being Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa. And I think it's safe to say that the former Crimson Tide duo has continued their success as Dolphins. And I mean, honestly, that's even despite just the entire team not also having the same amount of success as these two. Waddle's rookie season wasn't quite as dazzling as Chase's, but he still managed to set a rookie record with 104 receptions on his way to being named to the all-rookie team. However, in 2022, Waddle was relegated to wide receiver 2 on the depth chart as the Dolphins added Tyreek Hill in a blockbuster trade from Kansas City. Fans questioned whether Waddle would be able to make an impact with fewer touches, but he has completely answered them very convincingly. In a supporting role to Hill, Waddle continued to shine, recording 1,000 yards in both of his next 2 seasons, as he and Hill formed the best wide receiver duo in football. His good big play paid off big time, with Waddle earning an extension in 2024, equating to $84 million over the next 3 years, which is another big success to kick off this first round.
With the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Devonte Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
The next receiver taken was Waddle's Alabama teammate Devonte Smith, taken 10th overall by the Eagles. Smith was an absolute phenomenon in college, becoming only the second wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy in 2020 thanks to a sensational 1,856-yard, 23-touchdown season. And despite all of this, he still dropped to 10th in the draft due to his just slender frame coming into the NFL. However, now in his 4th year in the league, Smith has proven those concerns wrong and has been a big part of the Eagles' recent success, including their trip to Super Bowl 57, where they did fall to the Chiefs despite a 100-yard showing from Smith. Like Waddle, Smith has become the number 2 option since the arrival of A.J. Brown in Philly, but he's continued to be a big part of this offense, and his 3,178 yards through his first 3 seasons helped him pick up a $75 million 3-year extension. And I'm sure Eagles fans are going to be hoping for much more of the same going forward.
With the 20th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Cadarius Tony, wide receiver, Florida.
Now, this is where we have our first true bust of this draft in Cadarius Tony. Tony was a much hyped prospect out of Florida, and the New York Giants were the lucky team that selected him with the 20th overall pick. And as many of us all know now, including Giants fans, he didn't work out. Tony's season and a half in New York were just a complete disaster, with 0 touchdowns and just 420 yards as he failed to build any real chemistry with Daniel Jones. Not everybody was quite ready to give up on him though, leading for the Chiefs to trade for him halfway through his sophomore season. The change in location appeared to have worked, as Tony played a part in the team's Super Bowl victory over Philadelphia, scoring a touchdown as the Chiefs won a thriller 38-35. His 2023 season, however, was a non-event with just 169 receiving yards in 13 games, in a season marred by drops and just bobbled balls that saw him eventually released at the end of the year. Tony is currently on the Cleveland Browns practice squad with only 760 career yards, confirming his status as a legendary wide receiver bust for New York.
With the 27th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Rashad Baitman, wide receiver, Minnesota.
A better selection at pick 27 was Rashad Baitman to the Baltimore Ravens. As he was drafted out of Minnesota, Bateman was expected to be another weapon to aid Lamar Jackson's development, and so far the Ravens have seen mixed results. Bateman has had his moments, but has found himself further down the depth chart in his 3 seasons, ranking 6th in receiving yards on the team in 2023 despite playing in 16 games. However, so far in 2024, he has 447 yards through 9 games as a part of the league's second best offense. He has the second most receiving yards on the team behind sophomore Zay Flowers, and is showing more frequent signs of being a decent NFL receiver. Nevertheless though, his 1,614 career yards are certainly less than Baltimore had hoped for when they drafted him in the first round.
In the 2021 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select future Pro Bowler Elijah Moore, wide receiver, Ole Miss.
Next up is Elijah Moore, who after being selected 34th overall by the New York Jets, now finds himself on the Cleveland Browns. Moore hasn't quite hit all the heights that he had hoped for, but it's worth pointing out that his quarterbacks in New York were Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco, making his 984 yards across 2 seasons slightly more understandable. Moore's frustration with the Jets led to him to request a trade in 2022, which eventually brought him to Cleveland for the 2023 season. And once again, he's been playing with one of the league's worst quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson, struggling to make any sort of impact with just 889 yards in 26 games in Cleveland so far. And honestly, it might be a little harsh to call Moore a bust just because of just his less than ideal situations he has been put in, but it also is safe to say that he hasn't been really that much of a hit of a pick in his 4 seasons in the league. Now on the clock at pick 49 were the Cardinals, who did select Rondale Moore, who was an All-American as a freshman at Purdue, and many had high hopes for him as a playmaker for the Cardinals team, hoping to reach the next level. However, Moore is another one of those we'll file in the disappointing category, as he never quite made his mark in Arizona, partly due to a recurring hamstring injury. Over his 3 seasons as a Cardinal, Moore put up 1,450 total yards and just 4 touchdowns before being traded to Atlanta for backup quarterback Desmond Ridder. In August of 2024, disaster struck as a knee injury did rule him out for the entire season, leaving his entire pro career in the balance. Fingers are crossed he can get healthy and have a shot at re-energizing his career on an up-and-coming Falcons side.
With the 56th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Dwayne Eskridge.
Now, Dwayne Eskridge is just another guy that's on his second team now, but who has also managed to make very little on-the-field production. He was taken 56 overall by Seattle, and 4 seasons on, his pro career is hanging by a thread on the Miami Dolphins. During his 3 seasons in Seattle, he caught just 17 passes for 122 yards and a single touchdown. He missed time due to injuries, but also because of a 6-game suspension in 2023 following an arrest for a misdemeanor involving the mother of his child. In 2024, the Seahawks did let him go, and he joined the Dolphins, where he has featured sparingly this season. Unfortunately, though, he is an entirely forgettable late 2nd-round pick.
With the 57th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Tutu Atwell.
After not recording a catch during his first season in LA, he was eased into the lineup during the 2022 season, picking up 298 yards and a touchdown as the team's 5th wide receiver option. 2023, we did see Tutu Atwell move up on the depth chart, but he still was behind just Cooper Kupp, who's an amazing wide receiver. But then it didn't help either that Puka Nacua had the season he did have last year, breaking all of those records. Fast forward to 2024 though, with Kupp and Nacua missing due to injury, Atwell is currently leading the Rams in receiving yards with 366 through 8 games, as he isn't exactly wide receiver number 1, but in his 4th season, he's demonstrating his value to the Rams as he figures to be a good depth option for the team going forward.
With the 59th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, Carolina Panthers select Terrence Marshall Jr.
2 picks after Atwell, we'll have another player who is barely still in the league in Terrence Marshall Jr. Having been a teammate of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase in college, the Carolina Panthers used the 59th pick on Marshall in hope that he would bring them some of that trendy LSU magic. And spoiler alert, he did none of that. Truly, Marshall just failed really to do anything as a Panther. With just 767 yards and 1 touchdown across 3 seasons, struggling away on one of the league's worst teams. After a brief spell on the 49ers practice squad, Marshall is currently on the Raiders practice squad, hoping for one last chance in pro football.
With the 77th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Josh Palmer, wide receiver, Tennessee.
One player faring better than Marshall is Josh Palmer of the LA Chargers, who is still playing a role for this team 4 years in. Palmer, who was drafted at pick 77 in the 3rd round, carving out a role for himself as the 3rd option on a team after Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. After 10 weeks of the 2024 season, Palmer is 2nd on the team in receiving yards behind exciting rookie Ladd McConkey, proving that he is still a trusted target for Justin Herbert. As things stand, Jim Harbaugh's rebuild is starting to take shape in Los Angeles, which means postseason football may not be too far away for Palmer. He is still awaiting a new contract, but if he continues to play like this, I'm sure that he will be rewarded with that 2nd contract and be able to stay on the Chargers. And even if he's not going to stay on the Chargers, I'm sure another team in the league will reward him with that contract. I mean, 10 touchdowns and 2,000 yards is a decent return so far from a mid-3rd round pick, and there still will be more to come. Damian Brown was drafted by Washington 82nd overall after being a 3rd team All-American at North Carolina. Brown is another player whose career has never really taken off, but he remains on the Commanders roster in 2024, having made 11 catches for 158 yards after 10 weeks. In a team that's seriously lacking a 2nd wide receiver option behind Terry McLaurin, Brown has never made that his own spot, which is really just disappointing. However, given he has managed to stick around this long and still does make plays from time to time, he wasn't a complete disaster of a 3rd round pick.
With the 85th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Amari Rogers.
At 85th overall, though, we have our first player who is actually out of the league just entirely. Amari Rogers was drafted by the Packers in 2021 as the team was gearing up for a Super Bowl run, but it proved to be a wasted selection. Amari Rogers amassed just 95 yards in 2 seasons before bouncing around the league to Houston and then to Indianapolis before dropping out of the league entirely in October of 2023. He is currently on the Birmingham Stallions of of the USFL and looks unlikely to return to the big leagues. And it honestly just has to sting even more for Packer fans just knowing that they took this guy while they could have even taken Amon-Ra St Brown, who would wait a whole nother round to get drafted.
With the 89th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Nico Collins.
Next up is our first just true success story in a while in Nico Collins. He became a Houston Texan toward the end of round 3 at pick 89. In his first 2 seasons, Collins did have a decent total of 927 yards despite playing with a quarterback carousel of Davis Mills, Kyle Allen, and Jeff Driscoll. With the arrival of CJ Stroud to Houston in 2023 though, Nico Collins took his game to the next level, going for nearly 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns as the Texans had a true breakout season and picked up an AFC title at 10-7. Collins was the team's top playmaker and started the 2024 season looking even better, leading the entire league in receiving yards through 5 games with 567. Sadly though, just as he was starting to establish himself as one of the league's best wide receivers, disaster struck in the form of a hamstring injury that required a stint on the IR. Still, at the time of this video, Collins is on track to retake the field with half of the season still to go, meaning a big campaign is still on the cards.
With the 91st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Anthony Schwarz.
Unfortunately though, for every Nico Collins that we do get, there's going to be an Anthony Schwarz, who really had very little success with his career in the NFL on the Cleveland Browns in 2021. As a track star who ran a 4.25 40-yard dash, Schwarz was drafted as a deep threat for the Browns, but this never materialized, with him picking up just 186 yards in 2 seasons on the team. After 2 seasons, Schwarz was released and is currently still on the Dolphins practice squad, unlikely to ever play a snap again.
With the 109th pick in the NFL 2021 Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Dez Fitzpatrick.
And finally, the last wide receiver taken before Amon-Ra St Brown was Dez Fitzpatrick, arguably the player with the fewest NFL contributions on this list. Fitzpatrick was drafted 109th overall, just 3 places above St. Brown, and their careers couldn't have been more different, with Fitzpatrick recording just 49 receiving yards in his entire NFL career. Now on his 3rd team with the LA Chargers, Fitzpatrick hasn't played an offensive snap since October of 2022 and looks set to be on practice squads at best from here onward. And I mean, honestly, with the exception of Nico Collins, those 3rd and 4th round selections really do show just how remarkable it is that the Lions managed to unearth a player as great as Amon-Ra St Brown, proving just how unpredictable the draft is year in and year out. Any of the other 31 teams in the NFL could have had St. Brown, and no doubt plenty of fans are still imagining him on their team throughout this video. Their loss was the Lions' gain, and fans in Motown are eternally grateful for that. And if you want to see a video on why Lamar Jackson was not the #1 overall pick in the 2018 draft, then click this video right here.